Hey guys, so my name is Dan from Get Gym Fit, and today we're going to be talking about training to failure, and more specifically, should a beginner train to failure? Is this something that's worthwhile, and is it going to give you the most reward when you're doing a set? When you're doing a set to failure, essentially say it's a set of 10, when you're approaching that 10th set, it gets to a point where you're trying to lift that weight and you actually can't complete the rep, okay? That's what training to failure is. So why is training to failure a phenomenon that should even be discussed? Many people argue that if by training to failure, you're actually going to get the most gains, or you're actually going to grow the most muscle. But recent literature and in our experience, we've found that it's not actually the most effective strategy, and especially not for beginners. Today we're going to be breaking down why this is the case and why as a beginner you should just start with not worrying about training to failure and just getting the fundamental movement patterns right. So as a beginner, you don't actually need to have this sort of stimulus, training to failure, to get a lot of reward out of your training. Okay? As a beginner, there's this phenomenon known as noob gains. And noob gains, essentially, you don't have to do a lot of work. You still have to obviously put in the hard yards and do these sessions effectively, but you don't have to put in a whole lot of ridiculous training load, all these complicated procedures and strategies to actually get some reward out of going to the gym. You can actually build muscle and lose fat really quickly and really easily just by getting the fundamental things right. So the second point is, if you're training to failure every single workout, every single set, or even at all, you're actually going to put your training consistency at a detriment. You're not going to be able to train as often, and you're not going to pull up you're going to pull up sore from each training session. You might have heard of something called DOMS, which is known as delayed onset of muscle soreness. Every beginner knows what this feeling is like. Your muscles are sore, you can't move for a few days, and if you're training to failure, you're actually going to increase your DOMS, and it might mean that it puts you out for half a week. Okay, and you're not going to be able to get that training frequency in that you need to actually get results. And speaking of consistency, it brings us to our next point. When you are just starting out at the gym, there's so many different things that are trying to distract you and pull you away from staying consistent. Whether that's feeling intimidated in the gym, maybe it's feeling fatigued, feeling exhausted. It's really hard to start new habits, and if you want to stay consistent, you want to make sure your workouts are achievable. And if you're having to train to failure every single rep, every time you come to the gym, you're going to start hating the process and you're not going to be compliant over the long haul. Fitness and achieving things at the gym is all about the long-term game. You don't want to try and sprint at the start, do all these sets to failure, and then end up quitting after a month. And my final point is, when you're just starting out of the gym, your technique is fundamental, is the most important thing above all else. If you're trying to train to failure, often in those reps, it can get a little bit dangerous, and you're not actually going to be able to hold your technique and your form as you're failing. Okay, so we recommend, again, for the long haul approach or the long-term approach, get your technique right, get the fundamental movement patterns correct first, and that's going to just put you in good stead for the long haul. You're going to be able to load those movements better over time, you're going to be able to lift more weight effectively for the long haul, and you're just going to get more reward out of your fitness journey. So at Get Gym Fit, we're all about helping fitness beginners join a gym and feel confident doing so as they're doing their sessions. Okay, so please, if you've got value out of this content, please hit the like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.